Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. In the thrilling victory for the Cincinnati Bengals last night, of course, the biggest takeaway is how Jake Browning looked. But for me, the second biggest takeaway is Chase Brown at running back has arrived for the Cincinnati Bengals. So in today's episode of Mike Talk Sports, I'm going to be breaking down the performance of Chase Brown and overall Chase Brown's career in high school and college in order to determine how is Chase Brown going to look for the Bengals for the rest of the season and what will his role be in 2023 and in 2024. Chase Brown was born in London, Ontario, Canada, and he was a standout high school football player in Canada. And of course, Canadian football players really don't get any love at the high school and college level. So he ended up transferring and moving to Florida for his junior and senior season in high school. And he made an immediate impact only going to this school in Florida for 2 seasons. He still was good enough to set the all-time career rushing record at his school in Florida, being one of the better running backs in the entire state, and he was also a standout star in track as well, as to this day he still holds their school record for the 100-meter dash. Chase Brown then declared to go to school at Western Michigan, and after his freshman year, he ended up transferring to Illinois, where he spent the last 4 years in college at. Chase had a really nice 2021 season as he rushed for 1,000 yards, then he parlayed that into a phenomenal 2022. Not only were Illinois a shock, really nice team in college football last year, but it was led by Chase Brown, their star running back. He ended up rushing for 1,643 yards on 5 yards per carry, and he had 13 total touchdowns. He actually had 9 straight 100-yard games last year, and he ended up averaging 27 carries per game. Make no mistake about it, Chase Brown is a bell cow back, at least at the college level. He just hasn't gotten the opportunity at the NFL level yet to prove it, but last night was a great indicator that Chase Brown absolutely can be that guy at the NFL level. So Chase ended up declaring for the 2023 draft, where he was ranked the second best Canadian player in the entire draft, and he ended up going into the 5th round, and he was picked, of course, by the Cincinnati Bengals. Despite having a really nice preseason, as I did put some of his preseason highlights in this video, he was inactive to start the season, and then he did land on the IR with a hamstring injury. So of course, again, last night really was his first big opportunity, and last night on only 11 snaps, he had 9 carries for 61 yards, and he had a nice yards per carry as well. And of course, this game was highlighted by a really nice 31-yard run as well. Even though Joe Mixon's yards per carry and overall efficiency on paper wasn't great last night, I actually think Joe Mixon played pretty well last night. Of course, he did have those 2 touchdowns, and overall, he did have some really nice tough runs, and he is a good pass blocker who's also good in the receiving game as well. But let me tell you guys why Chase Brown can end up really start chipping away at those Joe Mixon snaps, not only in the next couple of weeks, but especially for next year as well. Joe is starting to look like that running back who's entering his late 20s in the sense that initial burst and acceleration and especially top end speed just isn't there from Joe Mixon. And of course, this is a significant strength of Chase Brown. Not only is he a standout star in track, but he ran a 4.43 40-yard dash time at the NFL Combine. He really is one of the faster running backs in the NFL. So whenever the Bengals are trying to hit on that home run play, Chase Brown can hit it on any given play. And Joe Mixon at this point of his career, again, he is a crafty veteran with some nice vision as well, and he could definitely still chunk out some 20-yard runs, but he is not going to be a home run threat like Chase Brown is. And while Joe Mixon's yards per carry and overall efficiency really has never been great, as he only has 1 season in his entire career being an above average yards per carry guy, this season it really does not look good from a statistical standpoint from Joe Mixon, as he's only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. And again, it really is that lack of explosiveness from Joe Mixon. So again, that's somewhere where Chase Brown really can start to chip away with Joe Mixon's carries. Not only this, but I think the Bengals are going to start looking towards the future. So Joe Mixon is actually under contract next year, and he's set to make $8.5 million. And I broke down his contract, and really looking at his contract, they have a significant out on it next season. So I would not be surprised to see him be a cap casualty in the offseason. And if they cut Joe Mixon, they're going to free up so much money to sign other players at more important positions. then this would leave Chase Brown in a great opportunity in 2024. But as this relates to 2023, I think they're going to try to test the waters and see if this is actually a viable thing to do in the offseason this season. So Chase Brown is really going to start splitting carries with Joe Mixon as they want to see if they can survive next season without him. Would this even be a smart idea to let go of Joe Mixon and to have Chase Brown start to experiment at the running back position and get significant carries to end this season? Well, let me break down his skill set now. So I mentioned earlier, he does have that 4.43 40-yard dash time, and he really does have a nice top end speed. He has a nice initial burst and acceleration upon the snap as well, and he is good at following blocks with solid vision, and he is more of an outside runner with solid contact balance. Is he at the NFL level going to be this high-end inside runner with a lot of strength to him? No, I don't think so. Even though he did flash that at Illinois, I don't necessarily think that's going to be his strength at the NFL level. Something that stands out at the college level, and even in last night's game for Chase Brown as well, is he does have a nice subtleness to his game. Even though he's very fast and he does hit that top speed early, he has these nice subtle plants and cuts to him that allows him to juke out defenders pretty consistently. Now, if Chase Brown wants to be a receiving back at the NFL level, he's going to try to increase his blocking prowess, as it wasn't great at the college level, but he is a really nice receiver at the running back position. He's going to be able to run all the routes in the running back route tree. Is he necessarily going to be split out wide? Of course not, but again, he has these nice soft hands as well, and overall, he was a good receiving back in college. Now, the one big concern for Chase Brown is that ball security. It honestly was pretty bad in 2022 for Illinois, as he had over 5 fumbles last year, but that's something I do think he will fix up, as it wasn't an issue in preseason, and it did not show up last night in a limited sample size, of course, so that's to be taken with a grain of salt. On this channel, I've showed my love for these really fast rookie running backs that can hit the explosive home run play, such as Devon Achane and Keaton Mitchell, and I do think Chase Brown is in that tier of really fast rookie running backs that can hit that explosive play, which is such a vast difference compared to Joe Mixon. So if I had to officially predict what is Chase Brown's season going to look like towards the end of it, I think to end the season, he will average 10 carries per game, which is such a nice opportunity for Chase Brown, and I think he'll parlay that into a much larger role going into 2024. Thanks for watching today's episode of Mike Talk Sports. Let me know in the comment section below, do you agree with my analysis and my takes on Chase Brown? And do you agree with my take that Joe Mixon honestly might be a cap casualty and a cut in the offseason? If you enjoyed today's episode of Mike Talk Sports, I really appreciate it, guys. Smack that like and hit subscribe.